Dun, 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 dun. Welcome to Dungeon Master Level 1, the podcast about a new Dungeon Master and his new D&D players. I am Merritt Smith, your Dungeon Master. With me, as always, is Ted White, the goose to my maverick. Welcome, everybody.
I think we're both goose.
We're both goose.
Geese.
We're both
No
goose.
Maverick.
Oh, I wish I was
on Maverick, folks.
You might be our Maverick.
Are you our Maverick? Slide into our reviews on Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review and tell us how you're Maverick.
Wow,
but man, what an app last week, huh?
What a great session. Yeah, that was fantastic.
Sorry, I was talking about the app of the podcast, but yes.
No, agreed there too. Yes. It was so much fun having Sam on. I totally get what he's like. Maybe just once a month. You know, like I got stuff to do, guys. I'm a doctor. I can't be doing this crap all the time.
Look, I got stuff to do too. It's not like I'm just like wallowing around in my apartment.
I don't have anything to do.
Fair enough. Great sesh. It's just Ted Merritt, just a OG two geese flying south for the winter.
Yep. Cool.
Playing D&D.
Do you want to give a Christ?
Just suck the air right out of the sesh with that last statement. Did not. Nothing makes people want to listen to a podcast more than long stretches of silence. Because we don't edit this, folks. Nope. This is all as natural of a conversation.
You know those people who like really enjoy watching like outtakes from things? That's why we leave it in. I love outtakes. Just leave it all in.
Same.
No outtakes.
But I like it. I like outtakes when I don't know that they're coming and there's a lot of dead air in between the outtakes. I don't want to highlight reel of all the good outtakes. Wait, here's a random question. What's a good movie that has a great blooper reel?
Oh man, you know, I like the MCU blooper reels. You know, like gosh darn it.
Internet connectivity problems, but hold on, don't do anything because this screenshot. Dang it. Oh, that's too bad. The way you were frozen was perfect. I should have if I was faster, I would have put a screen grab and would have made you post it on Twitter.
Oh, that would have been great.
At the Irish Roger, folks. Slide into Merritt's DMs and let us know what kind of geese we are or who our Maverick could be.
Indeed.
Great sesh last week, though. Let's talk about it. Not any combat. Interesting choice. I was into this. Instead, a lot of world building and a lot of exploration, which is something that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was also something that was it's curious because you have your players and they can kind of do whatever they want, but there was a lot of books. We had a couple days in game time to move on. Yep. And after we wrapped up in the library, now we're onwards to the next step in the journey with a huge reveal, and we'll break it down right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's go through the events of this session so we can then go on to discuss them. So we were in the library just after combat. The captain's wife, Alexandria, walks in carrying some books, sees the havoc you have caused with the... Not the players didn't cause the sickly patrons, but there are patrons looking rather worse for wear. They are torn in scattered books everywhere, a book on fire, and she is a wizard, so she cherishes books and learning, and she walks in and sees the guests on her ship in her home have caused this chaos to her.
Wait, this is her home?
No, but the ship is her home.
Oh, the ship is her home. We didn't cause chaos in the ship. We caused chaos in the library.
I meant to say the people who are guests in her home have caused chaos in a place of great importance to her.
Got it.
And so, she helped out the most grievously wounded library patron, and asked what happened. The players explained that they were lulled into most of them were lulled into a magical slumber by the succubus, and they were able to escape that, and they took care of the succubus and its minions and freed the library. And then, boom. And so she was like, oh, thank you so much. Then the chair by the front desk started to rattle and shake, and everyone discovered there was a trapdoor underneath that chair, underneath the front
and wouldn't
desk.
you know what was inside that trapdoor?
What was inside?
The actual librarian.
The real librarian who had been trapped there. Who explained the last people to come in that she saw asked for some very sensitive materials. She said she would be unable to provide that. And in their fury, they threw her down in the storage area, trapped her there, and caused the problem that our heroes encountered.
Now, I understand why she was there from a story perspective, but part of me is curious now that we're breaking it down, like why why they just didn't kill her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a good question. That's an excellent question. One could be perhaps they thought she would still be useful. One could be that, she is deeply connected to this library, which is a magical place and has magical wards, and causing her bodily harm could set off
that's fair.
certain defensive elements, maybe seal the library permanently or summon other defenses that they weren't prepared to handle. And so by just trapping her and in setting up a trap for anyone who comes along later, that would give the person that we soon discovered who was responsible for this this injustice against knowledge, give him time to
this
move away.
This real hater of knowledge.
Yeah.
And what a great way. Congrats, Merritt, for working in my character's backstory, folks, because that's what we're getting at. For those of you who are wondering, hey, is this not the big bad, but an old enemy from the before Adventure Times of Bosch of Amazon that you haven't heard about and you haven't read about and you know nothing about? Guess what? I know about it, the player, and Bosch does too. And yes, you're absolutely right, dear listener, singular. It is Greg, the wizard, who is the wizard, the evil wizard who killed Bosch's mentor, Hector, and left Bosch broken and alone and full of hatred for magic.
Indeed. So I loved that I was able to leave it to you.
Leave it to you. Single toot.
Toot. To pick up on who it was that the librarian said, oh, the library has magical elements that automatically register anyone who comes in. And so they check that log.
Which was actually kind of a win for me because usually I don't remember anything about anything. So I was fully prepared to have another moment where my character just drinks even though he swore off alcohol that I completely forgot about. But, when you're going week to week, and we're talking about the ancient evil, I had a feeling I knew who it was. I mean, yes, Greg is a funny name for a wizard, but we're taking it seriously.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Maybe it's spelled funny. Maybe there's like an umlaut in there somewhere.
No, there's just two G's at the end. That's the only funny thing. That's it. Greg with two G's. Actually, the two G's are at the beginning.
Greg.
So,
Greg.
Just Greg, but it's just with two G's at the beginning.
The first G is silent. No, the second G is silent.
The first G is silent. All right, let's quickly recap the rest and then we'll get to the fun stuff. People listen for the back and forth, for the witty. Because, again, if you're watching the pod, if you're watching the content, if you're listening to the pod, if you're watching the campaign, thank you so much. We love you so much, listener. Merritt, I think I want to push pause here and I want to come back to a recurring segment called How Many Active Listeners Are We At Right Now?
Oh, we were really good this week. No, I think it said we had 20 unique listeners this week.
What?
Yeah.
I was going to blow the dude like a joke, but we have 20 unique listeners.
I'll pull it up right now, but I'm pretty sure. Now, it's...
I'm getting better at the flute.
You
which
are
is
getting better
the
at the
funniest
flute,
part
which is
about this whole thing is that I'm
hilarious.
actually getting better at the flute. Even though I bought it as a joke.
19 unique listeners in the last 7 days.
Wow.
Now those could like all be bots. Who knows? But
No, what a bot's going to go in and listen to a
I don't know.
podcast? Come on. A bot's got better things to do.
You gave away your birthday. They might be.
No, I didn't. Did I?
Not the
Oh,
year.
no.
Remember, we kept messing with the year.
Shit. Yeah, that's right.
I shouldn't have mentioned that.
Well, yeah, you know what? For those
We
19
won't
unique
repeat it.
listeners,
Don't steal
find
Ted's
us
identity.
on DM Merritt and have him send you my Venmo handle if you want to send me something for my birthday. Okay, so let's hop back in.
Yeah.
Welcome to our 19 unique listeners. If you are bots, let me say beep boop 1100111011. I don't know what that was.
So
imagine
then,
if I looked up a sentence in binary and I just read like
That would
ones
be
and zeros
amazing.
for like
That would be
2
amazing.
minutes.
so then the players, the heroes, check. The librarian actually got some material for them, both on their overarching campaign, a little information on the Deceiver, and a magical map of the Tetherverse that actually shows them the continents moving. So this is like, they will have the most up-to-date information for trying to get around the Tetherverse, which is awesome. They also got some personal books on loan of topics that might be of interest to them. Lek got a book on Aarakocra culture because he is sorely lacking in that, having grown up outside of his tribe and is desperate for a glimpse into who he is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward for Lek's journey. I want to see how that goes.
Yeah,
for him.
I think his is going to be really, really cool. I think Raccoon's is going to be really, really cool. I got him a book on, or the librarian got him a book on unique creatures in the Tetherverse that, he, in the first session, he talked about just wanting to spend time in nature and like observing the world. And so that seemed to fit in there. And I have plans for him that will tie into that going forwards. Then, Bosch, or no, not Bosch. Barter got a book on.
How dare you?
I
Can't
know,
believe you didn't
I know.
remember.
I can't remember. Next campaign, there's no characters cannot have the same first letter.
Okay, well, maybe when you create a character for someone to play who did not create the character, you can make that rule.
No. Here's a funny story about that. Originally, the character was named Martyr. I talked with him on the phone about it. He must have heard Barter and just changed the name in the character sheet, and I just went with it. Like, I was like,
just change it back to Martyr, but act like nothing is amiss. Sam's not going to listen to this. If he does, hi Sam.
Sam does listen to this.
Doesn't.
Yes, he does.
Does he really? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I told you.
Imagine he listens and it's just us just talking mad shit. It's like, we had the worst episode last week thanks to that rat, Sam. I almost called him Snam.
Snam. No, I told you. The way he got in the campaign, Jesus, Ted, killing me with the flute. The way he got in the campaign is I was dropping my kids off at school, and his wife was there
at the pool.
Up
top.
Yep.
Oh, and his wife was in the bathroom.
Yep.
And she said, I hear you're doing a D&D campaign, and I know you're indisposed, but I have to have you.
She kicked in the door while I'm doing my business. What are you doing to my house?
All right, please continue.
No,
continue.
We were dropping I was dropping the kids off at school, and his wife was there, and she said, "Oh, he listened to the first episode and thought it was really good." And I was like, "Oh, cool, that's amazing." And then I was like, maybe he'd like to join the campaign, and he did. So it was awesome. He is our listener.
So, folks, if you want to join the campaign, all you have to do is listen to the podcast and find Merritt in a bathroom somewhere and say, "Hey, I thought the podcast was good." And you, too, can join the expedition to Tarmalon.
Oh, yes. Excellent. Okay, so they got these books. Oh, Barter got a book on royal noble society and social structure. that was based on a conversation Sam and I had, and will also relate to Barter's arc. And then Bosch got a book on resolving inner conflict.
Yeah. Which felt kind of like a dig of you, the DM, being like, "I'm gonna fuck with."
No, there is a method to this. It is leading somewhere.
Okay, fine.
It is leading
I'll
somewhere.
it.
It's not. It was not just to fuck with you.
You've just been like, "Look, Ted, you're really flying off the rails. I can't allow this. So guess what? You are busted. You're banned." Anyway, so we got our books. We returned to the ship, and we were tasked with. Well, it was that was the point where it got kind of freeform, right? Because that's the thing that you kind of forget playing D&D is that there is a game designer, obviously, but sometimes it's straight up just like, what do you want to do? And there's so many different options. There's so many different options. There are so many different options. There is so many different options. Yeah. Come on, Ted. Come on. And
grammar.
Oh, Grammar. That, when I write a campaign, I'm gonna have the big bad be named Grammar the Wizard, and they just speak poor grammar the whole time.
Did you hold on?
Like, you are YOUR, but they mean like you are going to die. And
I'm gonna go off on a tangent here for a second.
I haven't been doing that the whole time. I don't know. Absolutely not.
Having studied theater, do you remember something called Grammar Girton's Needle?
No.
It is one of like the earliest recovered Old English plays, from what I remember. And we were doing a segment on like historical lost plays, things like that. And I drew the straw and got this play called Grammar Girton's Needle. And it was horrendous. And from what I can remember, it was really like a bunch of butt and dick jokes written in like Old English and like barely understandable.
Grammar Girton's Needle, published in 1575 and acting at Christ's College, Cambridge, probably as early as King Edward V's reign. Yeah. I'm sorry. Now I'm curious. I want to read about this. So, this is interesting. This is almost like a very early sketch group at like a college from 500 years ago. Yeah. And I had just as insufferable then as they are now, folks.
The thing was, we were all supposed to read the plays that everyone was doing a presentation on. And I was going towards the end of this group doing it. And I get up and I was like, okay, so we all know the basic plot. And the teacher kind of like saw everybody's face, and she was like, hold on a second. Please be honest. I will not judge anyone on this. Who didn't read this play? And the entire class raised their hands. And so I was just like, all right, this is going to be a great discussion.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Like, hold on. Now I'm curious.
We were supposed to have like a 20-minute discussion on this. And I was the only one who read the play that day.
Yeah, you know what I remember about theater education? It was a bunch of people who thought I'm just going to be an actor, so I don't need to like study. Yeah. And then we would get to class and it would be like, all right, let's have like a discussion about what we thought of this play. And people would just make it up, or they just wouldn't do the work, or they would have these takes that were so hilariously bad and wrong.
100%.
And the teachers would always just be like, yeah, sure, because they're all like on tenure, so they don't care.
They're on to, yep. 100%.
Back inside, go bear, both hand and foot, go cold, but belly, God send thee good ale enough, whether it be new or old. That's just a little excerpt. That's from page 12.
From the classic
old drinking song.
Grammar Girton's Needle.
Gammer. It's Gammer.
Gammer. Okay,
Girton's
Gammer.
Needle, not Graham. I tried in Grandma Girton's Needle and I found a whole bunch of pornography.
Anyway, so the heroes went back to the ships, spent some time studying both their personal books and the book relating to the Big Bad, and tried to gain some information there.
Yep.
And actually
that's the Deceiver is the Big Bad, folks.
Yeah, the Deceiver did quite well. Actually learned a couple of names. They learned the Deceiver's true name, Mendax, And
That was all because of this
a
miraculous
nat
nat 20
20
that I
roll.
rolled. Every
On
other roll I had was a 2
you
or a
ro-
3
you were
or
everybody was
4.
really lucky. Yes, this session wasn't a combat session because it seriously you all rolled horrible the entire session. I'm talking
Part of me
like
kind of wants to just use. I do have actual dice here, and I kind of want to use those.
I was actually going to mention that. Absolutely feel free. Absolutely feel free. You know,
The only issue is that it's like, how do I could just make it up, but I'm
well,
not going
I'm
to
gonna.
because honor
It's
system,
we're gonna have
baby.
to trust. Yeah, and you know what? Like failing can create a lot of fun. Like yes, you don't want to fail and die, but at the same time, like it leads to some really funny and great situations. Like when you were riding the mining cart and trying to help Raccoon pump the cart and just not
Right.
really helping at all. But so studying that, you learned the deceiver's true name, Mendax, along with the name Erithal, who opposed the deceiver in his attempted destruction of the Tetherverse. And yeah, so that was really the big information that you gleaned. There's still more to be learned. And then after that, each one of you spent some time learning a little bit about the ship, which was really cool. That Bosch spent some time with the mechanic Anna and learned a little bit how the engine worked, and gained a skill point in Storm Rider engineering. Raccoon spent some time with the muscle of the ship. Had a little chit chat, and also gained a point in Storm Rider gunning, practice on the guns a little bit. And Lek spent some time with the captain to learn about the flight and how it flies, how it navigates. And I forgot to say this, but he will have gained a point in Storm Rider piloting. And then Barter tried to go talk to the direwolf and fed it a bone and did not learn anything. he spent his time talking to a child and a dog.
Oh, Barter. What won't he do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So we hung out for a couple days. We read some books. We learned up some stuff. We got like some new skills, which I thought was a really cool thing that we did. Like, hey, guess what? You had this conversation. You learned this first thing. So now you get a +1 on this kind of roll. I'm wondering if at some point, this is me, the player, not me as Bosch, but I'm wondering if at some point we're not going to see some capacity where we have to like pilot the ship for whatever reason.
Interesting.
But I don't know. But again, like that's just I'm always thinking like why certain things are introduced.
I mean, you have to, right? That's part of the game. You're just gonna have to wait and see. I'm not gonna give you any spoilers on that.
Yeah, well, I don't want you to give me any spoilers, Merritt. Okay, I'm just telling you what my thoughts are.
Good.
So we scoped around for a while. We talked to the captain and Tennille. Nope, the captain in Alexandria, and we got some intel about where the other orbs of power were located.
Well, where one is, yeah,
or one is, excuse me, right?
Yeah.
And so we elected, let's go after it. We were sure that Greg is probably there already. So we decided to chart a course. Meanwhile, Bosch was trying to get the skinny to make sure that all the people who work on the crew are
you're
paid
you're trying to
wage.
start a revolution on the ship.
Not even. I'm just trying to make sure that they're being taken care of. If they weren't, let me tell you something. They'd be unionizing immediately. I don't know. This is okay. Now I'm going to go on a tangent. This is a whole nother thing.
Excellent.
But a lot of this pro labor, pro worker stuff for Bosch is actually surprising. So this may come as a shock. A lot of what I genuinely think as a human.
No.
I know. Isn't that wild? Isn't that so crazy? But here's
that's
the thing,
nuts.
Is that I worked at Trader Joe's for over 6 years. And I'm not going to tell you when. But when I left, when I started that job, I was like, this is a great place to work. Everything is awesome. Every year that I worked there, another benefit was just slightly trimmed.
Oh, yeah.
We either Well, so it got to a point where it was like, guess what? You don't get as much in the retirement plan as you did. And Trader Joe's used to have this incredible retirement plan where you didn't have to pay into a 401k at the end of every year. They would just give you 15% of whatever you had made that year in an account. And so what people would do is, you'd work for Trader Joe's for like, sorry, I just bumped my mic. So what people would, I'm just going to take that again, like we're editing this, but we're not.
Right.
So what people would do is they would work for Trader Joe's for like 10 years. They'd accrue, I don't know, like $60,000 in their retirement account over 10 years. And then they'd be like, cool, I'm going to dip. I'm going to cash that out. I'm going to travel for a while. And then they'd come back and start doing it again. And I was like, that's cool. That's awesome. Like that's a great benefit. Guess what? Trimmed. Bye.
Yeah.
Just like down to 10% unless you were 30 or older. You kept the same. It was just a bad deal.
Actually aged like 30 years old and older? That sounds super illegal. That sounds ageist.
Shady, right? Yeah.
That doesn't
sound. If you were 30 or older, you kept your retirement account. But if you were under 30, it went down to 10%. But 5% of that was a cash out. They just cashed out 5% and just gave you a check. And the other 5% was put into your retirement account. And all these 22-year-olds I worked with were like, awesome, I'm getting a bonus. I was like, no, you're not. Your benefits are getting cut.
Yeah.
So that happened. About 2 years later, they cut health benefits for anybody working an average of under 30 hours a week.
Yep.
It used to be you only needed to work 18 hours a week to get health care.
Wow, that's
Not
huge.
Anymore. And this year, those snakes, guess what they did? Those corporate overlords in their infinite wisdom, always cutting the bottom line and enriching themselves. Guess what, Dan Bain, if you're listening, I'm putting you on notice, okay?
Putting you on blast.
He sent this thing. There's a bulletin. It's like a weekly newsletter. And in the weekly newsletter, they're like, guess what? If you've been with a company for 10 years or more, or if you're a captain, which is all even more
like
the
manager.
Yeah, if you're like a store leader, or if you've been here 10 years or more, you're getting 10% in your account. But if you've been here less than 10 years and you're a crew member, you're getting 5%. And that's for the year that's already ended, not for the future
retroactive.
So,
they changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They
so all of these people who are like touting how Trader Joe's is an incredible place to work.
That sounds like wage
during
theft.
The pandemic. Oh yeah. During the pandemic, they were like, oh my God, it's a great place to work. They did this thing called thank you pay where they gave them like a bump in pay. They took that away. Folks, pandemic's not over. And then they trimmed their retirement plans. And a bunch of people are like, I think we should unionize. And I'm like, yeah, you absolutely should.
You should have a while ago.
That job will break your back.
Yeah.
It is hard labor. And the people in charge don't care. They've been making... Well, last thing I'm going to say about this. I worked as a manager at a store in a major metropolitan area. And our store consistently pulled $1 million in sales a week.
Wow.
$1 million in sales a week. Our profit margin, this is shared from our store leader. We were touting ourselves for what an amazing job we did at keeping things consistent by paying people $10 an hour in a major metropolitan area, which is hilariously
awful.
Not enough.
Yeah. And
our profit margin was 15%. Do the math, folks.
Wow.
That means every week we were pulling in $150,000 in profit. And that's after all of our operating expenses.
Wow.
And what was my bonus as a manager? $500.
I was gonna guess $5.
Yeah, $5. And I was making like $18 an hour as a store manager, not as a store leader, but on that path.
Yeah.
Long story short, F Trader Joe's, but you really can't beat their frozen mango, folks.
Oh man,
it's a thing where this is really the last thing I'm going to say about it. It's a thing where I worked there for so long. And it really turned me into the worst version of myself by the end. And anytime I hear something in pop culture about how Trader Joe's is great, or if I hear a conversation where someone's like, oh my God, they're awesome. I love going there. It's my happy place. I want to be like, those employees are being taken advantage of. And if you really cared about that place, if you really cared, you'd be sending an email to Dan Bain telling him to resign. Hashtag resign Dan Bain.
Hashtag get it going. All right.
Get it going. So for those 20
Anyways.
listeners who immediately turned off, I'm gonna let you talk about D&D.
Now that we've
It's
lost
just that you
everybody
let me
for
get
the
on my
week.
soapbox. Hold on, wait. I'm gonna get him back. All right. It's hard to dance and flute at the same time. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I beat you to it.
It's hard to dance and flute. This is my TED Talk. Wonderful. Okay, so after
Okay, so after the weird rant that Ted went on halfway through the podcast, let's get back to the D&D.
I'm just making a mental note to never bring up Trader Joe's again.
That becomes the recurring thing. Just Ted hates Trader Joe's. Yet he still shops there. But that's the thing, baby. It's like people say, you hate capitalism. You live in a capitalist society. It's like, not by choice, baby.
So after reading the books and learning about the ship, the heroes arrive in the town of Desire, which is a
strange name for a town. I thought there'd be a lot more whorehouses and gambling dens.
Yeah. The town's a Old West style town, dirt road, one road going across the top, one going right down the middle, church.
Lots of horses.
At one end of the town, horses, water troughs, pig pen, wood buildings, such and such. And the heroes were immediately encountered a group of zombies, and bit of a false flag going up there because I think you all expected to be thrown into combat.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right.
But instead, out from the shadows stepped a man who immediately dispatched these creatures and introduced himself. And Ted, do you want to talk about the introduction of this character?
Okay, so there were a bunch of creatures. We were like, whoa, this is scary. What's happening? And then suddenly we just heard 3 like gunshots, right?
Yeah.
Just like 3 loud bangs.
Yeah.
And I looked up, and there, wearing a Hawaiian shirt with a red name tag on his chest, with a gun in his hand, was Dan Bane, that snake. And
murdering innocent civilians.
All the working class in this country. No, that's not what happened at all. I'm sorry. I just couldn't resist.
Yeah. So
you're going to make Dan Bane a villain in this, and I will not be able to contain myself from killing him. No, I didn't mean that in the game. In the game.
Instead, what you saw was a man dressed all in black, long duster coat, wide brimmed hat, dark sunglasses over his eyes, holding a revolver and a cross, and you were introduced
like a flower. His revolver kind of had a flower.
Oh, you know what? That was the gunshot. That is supposed to be the muzzle flash.
I didn't get that.
Yeah, that was the muzzle flash.
Folks, if you listen to a previous episode, you may remember how I was talking about how I just kind of like zoned out and zoomed in on another ancillary character that Merrick created. Folks, you better believe I was doing that again this week. just
staring at him.
I did like how you put sunglasses on, so it did hide his dead lifeless eyes.
Well, and so we introduced him, and he at first he goes, well, expecting like, and I think you guys were
nonsense.
expecting like a real stereotypical gruff Western sheriff voice, and then he cleared his throat and goes, "Welcome to Desire, folks. How can I help you?"
I was so mad at you when you did this. I was livid. I was seeing red. I screamed no into my microphone. I couldn't believe it. It was the oldest trick in the book. The Princess Bride, like, you're in the pit of despair.
Yeah.
There's no. It was totally. But I was here for it. I'm sorry. I don't want to like poo-poo your creativity, but I am allowed to be very angry with you.
Yeah, but it got you. It got you.
You did get me. You did get me. I was like, what's it? Oh man, this guy's gonna talk weird, and then it was. There it is.
Well, so as we learned, this character, a priest by the name of Bishop, is the priest in this Old West town and its protector, having at one point captured a demon within himself to prevent it from destroying the town. And so I botched this. I screwed this up in the introduction. I wanted him first. I wanted him first to take off his sunglasses and have you guys see demonic flaming eyes. before he spoke, and I totally forgot about doing that. So I think I need to be more careful to script important things like that. So I'm actually like reading it and remembering it going forwards, because I think that would have been a good cinematic detail to create. So I thought it would just be really funny of like, sort of the trope of the Old West sheriff, gruff, rugged, but then like with the personality of like Ned Flanders, that he just super friendly and welcoming and looking to help out. But then pair that with having something inside him that only craves destruction, and sort of a internal struggle, as you would have it.
I love that. I love that though. That's so cool. I love the like, this character is going to be really has like an internal struggle and all of that. I am really intrigued to see what happens next, because we very like just to like wrap up the recap real quick. We basically met Bishop, and then we had this choice where it was like, do you want to go? I forget. Was it like we went to go explore this cave where the orb was, or he told us?
So it was a mine that during the process of unearthing and digging out the mine, that was when they released the demon got released that he had to entomb within himself, but they also discovered an orb of power in the mine. So you went to go investigate that orb and see if you could learn something new. And who did we meet there?
Well, I'll tell you. We met that old snake Greg. Dan Bain. Once again, we pulled out his mask and it was Dan Bain. No, we met Greg, who was doing something to the orb, but he didn't take it. And then he gave us a choice. He said we could either stay there or go after him. I think it was we could either stay and protect the town or go after him.
It was they could pursue him to try and catch him and stop him, but then something grave would befall the inhabitants of the town of Desire.
But you said something like, they're not going to have such a good time or something. That's not how Greg talked, but imagine if I was a DM, my characters would just talk like a horny Southern person. You're not going to have the best time, mon chéri. I don't know what that character is.
I don't know what it is, but it's going to come into the game at some point. I promise you that.
Perfect. I can't wait. Bosch is going to meet his evil twin, and he's going to be from the South. He's going to be like, well, hello, I'm actually a bard. I saw your big muscly arms. I couldn't wait to put my... All right. Anyway, so we met Greg. Greg was like, guess what? You have to make a choice. Really like subtly, not so subtly saying, if you follow me, the people of Desire are not going to do well. So we said, okay, fine. I think Barter tried to chase him. In the player, I knew what this staff I had did, but I tried to react in the moment as I thought Bosch would, where I had this staff and it had 2 buttons on it. So I was like, this will be fun. I'll just have Bosch point the staff at Greg and just press a button and just hope for the best.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I thought that was great.
So he presses a button and then like the grappling hooks come out, which I knew it was like a mithril staff of grappling. And so then I press he presses the 1 button, it pokes out the prongs, and then he presses the other button and launches it at Greg, but it was too short and it didn't hit him. But something tells me that even if it did, Greg probably had some magic up his sleeve because Greg's a real jerk.
No, I thought that was great role play for you to like take that moment that you so overcome by anger and hatred towards him that you didn't even know what these do. And you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to try and hurt this guy however I can. And now you've learned in game how the grappling staff works.
That's right.
Which is really cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Bosch uses it going forwards. Also, I think I told you, a homebrewed item. Something I came up with.
That's right. Yeah. You did come up with this, which is very cool. I like that a lot. Okay, so then we elected to go back to the town,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where we ended it. We
Yep.
haven't gotten back to the town yet. So
Right.
I have a feeling we're going to show up back in the town, and everything's going to be fine, and we'll just keep going through the campaign.
I'm sure that's exactly how it's going to go.
Suddenly, on the horizon, you hear a faraway bell ringing. The bell sounds familiar to you somehow, but you don't understand what it could be. Your eyes are blinking from the bright light in front of you, and as you wipe the tears away from your eyes, you barely recognize a hibiscus patterned tunic on the individual in front of you with a bright red piece, a shiny piece of plastic that says his name, Dan
Jesus
Bane,
Christ.
on it. And he looks at you and he smiles as he raises his wand and he takes the last of your life force and gives it to himself, because he will never be satisfied until he has consumed everything that made this place great and has enriched himself with all of your work and your labor and your blood. See? It's easy. That's all you gotta do to
easy.
DM, folks.
Totally. Yep.
Just
There
channel
it
all
is,
of your
right
past
there.
life trauma, anti-capitalist rhetoric, and put it all into a campaign. That was just right out the dome. I didn't even write that, folks.
Fantastic.
Anyway,
one moment I want to mention.
No,
I want to mention one more moment that I thought was great role playing was so the town had a set of railroad tracks running from the town to the mine, and you guys played using the mining cart to get back and forth so well. So we had. We mentioned this earlier for a second. We had Raccoon, the Goliath Barbarian, being the one. This is like the kind of cart that you like pump something up and down to make it move along the tracks. And so we had the Goliath Barbarian Raccoon pumping on one end to get it going. And then Bosch hanging on the other side, trying to contribute, but like not really being very effective. And then on the way back, it was the halfling and the gnome pumping while the two normal sized beings just sat there riding.
Right. That's right. That's so good.
Yeah, that was great.
That was a lot of fun. I really liked everything that we did in that campaign. It was really, really good. And I thought it was just a great week, and I can't wait to hop on next week and see what happens.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. So let's go back and talk. Like you said before, no combat this session. How'd you feel?
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. I think if you're moving the story forward, we don't need to have a combat session every week.
I very much, and I more and more, like we said before, the first couple of combat sessions were kind of like to learn the mechanics, have everybody help learn the mechanics. Right. And so they were kind of generic. Now they are going to be much more motivated by the story and going to drive the story forwards. So
and they are going to
They are going to carry a lot more weight.
And I will say that one thing I really like about some of my favorite like video games or some of my favorite like games are when the combat is based on story and character, right? Like I don't know if you ever played well, this might not be the best example, but have you ever played the Horizon Zero Dawn?
No, and I want to very badly. It looks amazing,
really
and I know it just came.
It's really good.
I know it just came to PC, so I'm kind of waiting for like a big sale on it to grab it.
I bought it for like $20 when I bought a PS4. It was like on sale or something, and everybody was raving about it, and I was really into it. And there's a battle in that I was so emotionally invested in, and that's kind of what I live for. I love moments where it's just like, hey, and that's kind of what you can do with D&D as well. You know, you can be like, hey, for example, what's the group that enslaved Lek again?
The Guild of Wonder.
Yeah, so like, let's say the Guild of Wonder. This is not something that I'm saying I want to see happen in the campaign, but this is something that I'm wondering. Like, let's say we're just like on our way somewhere, and then the Guild of Wonder just like raids the ship.
Yep.
Or the Guild of Wonder is there, and Lek's like, I recognize that one, and then it's just like we're murdering them now. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Those like moments that are based directly on this character's backstory, and that's what can drive the combat and the story forward. That's what I like to see, and that's what you're doing, and I can't wait to see next week.
There is more of that in store, for sure.
There's more of that in store, and there's more of that anti-capitalist rhetoric next week on Dungeon Master Level 1.
Oh, God.
I gotta stop. My neighbor's probably like, "Why?
Why?
Are you doing this? I
What
hate
is with
you."
this? What is
What
going
with this
on?
freak?
All
Anyway,
right. So, any final thoughts?
yes, great
Excellent.
session.
Cool.
Number 1, great
Cool.
session.
Awesome. Thank
Number
you.
2, can't wait for next week.
Yes.
Number 3, Dan Bain resign. Those are my final thoughts.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry for what you went through.
Thank you. But you know who really needs to apologize?
Dan Bain.
Bain.
All right, folks. On that note.
Thanks for listening to Dungeon Master Level 1. If you write us a 5-star review, we'll read it on the air. If you want to be the Maverick to our geese, hit us up. 5-star review to throw it on iTunes. Also, thanks for listening. Sam, see you next week.
All right. Oh, perfect. Wonderful. I've been your Dungeon Master, Merritt Smith. As always, is Ted. This has been Dungeon Master Level 1. Thank you all for listening.
Follow Merritt
Bye.
at the Irish Roger on Twitter. DM him.
Bye-bye.
Bye.